So Volkswagen started selling diesel engines in this market in 1976. And don't focus that much on the technology that's described there, focus on the horsepower. So we started in a Golf with 50 horsepower. We learned today the new engine has 150. Then we increased horsepower by 4 and put the engine in 1983 in the Vanagon. Then we had a huge step there. In 1993, we introduced in the Jetta 3, we introduced a 1.9 liter and had 90 horsepower. In 2000, we increased to 100 horsepower and first time met Tier 2 certification with the BIN 10 legislation. In 2006, I wouldn't say we reached the climax, but we had the biggest diesel engine that we ever produced within the Volkswagen company, our 5-liter V10 engine in the Touareg. So we are then at 310 horsepower. Remember, we started with 50. In 2008, we had to meet newer emission regulation. So we had to meet BIN 5 regulation for the federal states and ULEV regulation for the California states. So we introduced the clean diesel technology there with 140 horsepower. With this technology in 2009, we won the Green Car of the Year for the Jetta, and the year after we won in 2010 again this prize with the same technology but in a different car, the Audi A3 TDI. So what were our targets for developing a new diesel engine? The first thing is we had to come up with a modular system. If you, people of you that are familiar to the technology, the diesel engines for the US have always been a bit specific. So we built diesel engines for Europe to meet European regulations, and we built specific engines for the US to meet US regulation. And we wanted to get rid of this. We wanted to have scale effects. We are building more than 2 million 4-cylinder diesel engines a year, and the US was only 100,000. So the majority of those engines were in Europe. So we wanted to have scale effects there. Then something very important, diesel is always a trade-off between CO2 and NOx emissions. If you have a diesel engine, you can decide, do I want to have more CO2 and less NOx, or the other way around. But what we wanted to achieve here is a CO2 neutral reduction of NOx raw emissions, and we even achieved more. You saw the numbers that Jörg presented. So we increased fuel economy in all models, and also we reduced our NOx raw emissions by 40% of this engine, the raw emissions. The NOx after treatment needed to be scalable. So if you are selling a Euro 5 engine for Africa, or if you are selling an engine for LEV 3 certification in California, we decided the after treatment needs to be scalable. It should not be a different after treatment. One very important step that is becoming more and more important globally is Euro 6 level 2, and the thing in brackets there is important, real driving emissions. So Europe is focusing on off-cycle emissions. They will give us, with this regulation, they will give us limits for off-cycles. Very important that we can achieve good off-cycle values. I mentioned again, we wanted to have high synergies between all engines, and something that where we are very proud of, we insourced the software development for this engine. In the past, we still have 3 suppliers for ECUs, but everybody had its own software coding. So if we needed changes, we had to go through three suppliers, and everybody had to make the changes. Now we do the software ourselves, and we give the software to the ECU supplier. So we are now controlling more of what's in the ECU than before. So we started out with a basic engine. That's what we have here in the US, our 2-liter with the balancer shafts. Out of this, we derived 2 versions. We have a 1.6 liter without balancer shafts, and we have a 2-liter without balancer shafts. So you ask now, why do you have one without balancer shafts, a 2-liter? It's pretty useful in Europe, where you want to distinguish, let's say, a Skoda from a Volkswagen. So this is something that can help us to differentiate really brands. But if we now come to all the parts that we bolt on this short block, we have the cylinder head. The cylinder head is the same on all these engines. So it's the same cylinder heads that's on the 1.6 and a 2-liter. The same for our intake module. The intake module has an integrated intercooler. It has an integrated EGR valve. And this is the same on all engines. Same for the canning of the exhaust system. The exhaust system canning is the same on all of these engines. Whether it's a 1.6 or a 2 liter, it's the same all the time. And what we are pretty proud of for our intake system, last year we won the PACE Award together with Valeo. So now let's have a look about how do we achieve these reductions in NOx emissions and how do we achieve the increase in fuel economy. What we learned over the past generations of diesel here in the US, it's very important that you close couple all this, that you only have short distances for your EGR system where you basically recycle your exhaust fumes. Yeah, that's what EGR does. You basically put a portion of your exhaust fume back into the engine. And what we learned here, I have to go now here to show it. So what we learned is it's very important to have short ways. So we integrated, for example, our high pressure EGR into the cylinder head. So there is no external tube running that can leak. It's integrated in the cylinder head. We run directly from the turbocharger, then through a small pipe, through the cylinder head, into this, what I mentioned before, into this integrated EGR valve into the intake manifold. So that's something we learned. It needs to be short. And also these short ways give you better throttle response. Scott already emphasized this, Jörg emphasized it. Try it today, but please within the legal limits here. We don't want you to get arrested. I had this once. I once organized a drive in California where somebody got arrested and the police wanted to impound the car. So please don't do it. It's not fun. Those negotiations with the police are not fun. I had this twice in my life. One time it was me myself, and the other time it was somebody, it was really a customer. We did a clinic with a customer. He was doing, I think, 90 on a 65 highway, and the police wanted to impound my test car, which had a one-off engine and a one-off suspension. It was not fun. So, please, don't do it. Even those are stock vehicles, please don't do it. So, something very new to this engine. What we did here, we rotated the valve stem. Normally on an engine, you have the intake valve, you have your intake valves on one camshaft and you have your exhaust valves on the other camshaft. What we did here, we rotated the valve stem by 90 degrees. This means we have on one camshaft, one intake valve and one exhaust valve. And on one of the camshafts, we combined this with a cam phaser. And this gives us the opportunity to run kind of a Miller cycle on a diesel engine. Because at low RPMs, low loads, you're only utilizing one intake valve anyhow on a diesel engine because of how you design your intake runners. So you're only utilizing one anyhow. So this really gave us the opportunity to run Miller cycle on diesel engines. So if we now see the operation of this, hopefully, you see the operation of there we go. So you can see here that we now have the ability to really phase one cam with one intake and one exhaust valve. And the big advantage of this is we now can adjust about 50-degree crank angle, which reflects 25-degree cam angle. So we can really move our valve lift according to where we need it at the moment of operation. That's new about this engine. The next new thing that we did, we raised the injection pressure from 1600 to 2000 on the base engine, and there are already applications running in Germany where the injection is higher. So we are going up to 2500 already. And for this we needed to modify our injector heavily. So what did we do to the injector? The first thing, we integrated in the injector something we called the mini rail. So we have a small chamber in there where we already have pressurized diesel in it. So we have always the 2000 bars available. So if we have no fluctuation in pressure, we always have the pressure that we need for the injection process by dipping this. That's the mini rail. The next thing that we do, the needle in the injector. We made it one needle from the bottom to the top. It's 3 parts, it's welded. And what's pretty important about this, down at the bottom, we have a close to seat guide. So if you see this red little piece down there, this is where we are guiding this needle. We are really, so this little red piece down here, this is really where we are guiding this needle. Because down there, we have what we call the nano hole. this is there what we have, what we call the nano blind hole, because it's really, if you see this hole in this injector, yeah, you basically don't see it. It's so small, this hole, where we inject the diesel fuel, so it's very important that we have a high accuracy of the needle really touching inside of the injector. This is why we put the guide for this so far down in the system. It has disadvantages, but the advantages are much higher than guiding the needle just in top with how it's done on the old injectors. So that's our nano blind hole down there, where we basically distribute the diesel to get the even distribution. Okay, more parts on this. So the close coupled exhaust gas after treatment. I will not go into the details of all these sensors, but all these sensors are basically required to comply with California regulation. For the OBD regulation, you need these 4 temperature sensors and all the others. But the other thing that's new about this, we have our SCR or AdBlue or DEF dosing module. It's water cooled now. We moved it so close to the engine that the temperature got so hot, but the increase in efficiency is so high that we decided to do this. So this module is water cooled. If you look under the hood here and you take the cover off, I don't know if you're allowed to, if my colleagues will appreciate this, but if you take the design cover off, you can see this, it's right behind the engine, and you can see water lines running there. And then, so we are coming out of the oxidation catalyst, then have the dosing module go into our mixing chamber, and then go into the particulate trap. So now people that are knowledgeable about diesel will tell me, okay, you missed something. You have 2 cans, but you need 3 to have a proper exhaust system. Yeah, that's correct, but we only have 2 because we combined the diesel particulate trap together with the SCR catalytic converter. We made it 1 part. In former times, that's always 3 parts that you have in a diesel exhaust system. We now only have 2 parts. So how did we do this? We basically have a porous core of this, where in one side your emissions go in, and then they have to go through the porous structure of this filter, and then on the other side they come out and have left the particulates in there, and the SCR coating was able to work. The big advantage we have out of this is low exhaust back pressure. By eliminating one of the 3 cans that you need for diesel after treatment, we were able to reduce the back pressure significantly. So, the next big advantage of this configuration that we have is the even distribution of the diesel emission fluid. So the diesel emission fluid gets injected through this water-cooled dosing module, and from there on we are now able to very evenly distribute it. You can see there in this short animation these little tiny plates we put in there to have the even distribution. The big advantage is we have no deposits anymore of urea. If you have the injector and you are injecting basically in line with the SCR converter, then you always have in the center a lot of urea, and on the sides you don't have a lot of urea. With this configuration, we have been able to have a very even distribution we haven't had before. If I compare this to the Passat system, it's really a big step forward. So, that's from my side. If you have any questions afterwards, you're welcome to ask the questions. And now I hand over to Jennifer to tell us a bit about marketing.
Thank you. So I realize I'm the last thing between some Q&A and you driving the cars, so I will be quick. I've got about 10 slides. So I'm going to share with you the Golf launch, the gas and the TDI models. And the entire Golf family advertising campaign is built under the Ready, Set, Golf nomenclature. So it speaks to the target young male urban influential. So it's very true to that. It will be across e-Golf, Sportwagon, and it was on GTI. We launched GTI around World Cup, for those of you who watched that. So Golf launch starts officially September 1. We did, for those of you who saw Shark Week, and I'll speak to this a little bit, but we did have a little presence on Shark Week. But it will officially kick off September 1st in many of the season premieres and NFL. So the great thing about Golf is that it allows us to speak to many of the pillars of our brand. So starting with versatility, I mean, it's a bit of an education for the American consumer on the hatch segment. So we're really just talking about the benefits of why somebody would want to buy a hatch vehicle. And then, as Jörg mentioned, we want to continue to beat the drum on our TDI leadership. And you wouldn't necessarily expect, and definitely in our competitors, you don't see the type of interior refinement that we have, so we're going to focus on that as well. You saw throughout our lineup that we are making significant improvements in our safety features, and so that will be a focus of the campaign. And then just speaking about the heritage of our golf platform and the fact that it's been 40 years of golf. So we've got 2 TV spots that we're going to run through. The first one is all about versatility, and then the second one is about TDI.
All right, guys, the usual, double wings, extra wrench.
We need to do something different.
Callahan's?
I mean, get away. Like, away.
Road trip?
Double wings, extra wrench.
I guess good to mix it up.
The all-new fuel-efficient Volkswagen Golf TDI Cool Diesel, up to 594 miles of adventure in every tank.
Yeah, dinner sounds good.
I could come by your place.
My place?
Hold on. Introducing the all-new Volkswagen Golf. Plenty of room for whenever life throws at you.
In addition to that, we are doing out-of-home in 10 markets. We have the traditional billboards and things like that, station dominations, but we also did something unique where we commissioned local artists to, as you can see here, identify icons of their hometown in the shape of a golf. And so it's pretty interesting. I don't know how well you can see it in the back, but there's pretty unique features and iconic imagery from people's markets within here. So in the DC one, you have all the monuments, you have the motorcade. So they've been quite popular, and we're going to have extensions socially and locally as well. I mentioned Shark Week, so it's our 3rd year doing Shark Week. The focus this year is around TDI and the idea of partnering TDI up with Nonstop Shark Week. So I've got a video on that.
People go crazy for Discovery Channel's Shark Week. It's become a week-long national holiday. So for our 3rd partnership in a row, Volkswagen wanted to take a bigger bite out of Shark Week, giving the fans what they love, Shark Week non-stop. There are no better vehicles that can match the non-stop agility and persistence of a Shark, like the all-new Golf TDI. So to show off its endurance, we put a team of survival experts from Discovery Channel's Dude, You're Screwed through the Volkswagen Non-Stop Shark Week Challenge.
Sharks never stop moving, so you're going to have to move like a shark and eat like a shark. And that means going non-stop in this Volkswagen Golf TDI.
Over 3 episodes, the record-breaking millions of fans watched as these survival experts tried to keep up with the all-new Golf TDI and Shark lifestyle.
I'm tired, I'm smelly, and I am sick of fish.
We also gave the fans their own non-stop endurance challenges to take on at home. Shark mode! Like challenging them to literally scroll for 567 miles while being fed tons of Shark and Golf TDI facts. Or seeing if fans have the physical agility to swim like a shark by using their webcam. And of course, we took to our swarm of social media fans to give them a feeding frenzy of non-stop Shark Week action. So what did we learn from this year's Shark Week?
Never challenge a shark or a Volkswagen Golf TDI.
Be sure to check your glove box if there's any fish. And then the last highlight from the launch is a partnership that we're doing with Funny or Die. We are partnering with Target, and we're actually going to drive a golf through a Target store, allowing somebody to outfit their apartment. So look for that in the next coming weeks. It is not a facade, it will really happen. So and that is it. I think everyone's going to come up for Q&A and then pitch in the cars.